I'm 33 years old, have been with my girlfriend, 26, for 5 years. We knew each other for 3 years before that. For about a year now, my girlfriend and I have had a rough relationship. I assumed it's just stress. She is resistant to therapy. 4 therapists have all been quacks for her, and she dislikes anything my therapist says that goes against her beliefs. This past year, I mostly avoided conflict and soothed when tensions and feelings got high for her. At the end of October, I met a friend 52 years old online. We hit it off immediately due to a lot of shared experiences. He has a partner 29 years old who he loves very much, so there was never any intent for this to be romance. I meet up with him once a week to go bowling or some other activity that my girlfriend usually doesn't want to do, bathhouses and eating raw fish, etc. I also frequently visit his home and spend the night after drinking so I don't drive home drunk. I thought he and my girlfriend would really hit it off. He bought a super nice dinner for the two of us in which my girlfriend was hostile to him the whole time. She refuses to believe she was hostile. Instead, she claims she was reacting to the looks he gave me. After meeting him, she has accused me of looking doe-eyed at my phone whenever I text him. For context, I have never cheated on her or given her any reason to distrust me. She knows my phone password despite me not knowing hers. She is allowed secrets because I respect her privacy and thought she respected mine. My friend is a terrible texter. He uses acronyms that no one else uses, DWA aka don't worry about it, and frequently says off-the-wall stuff that I take in stride. Talking to him in real life, I realized he just sucks at communicating in a natural way through text and doesn't think about how things sound. My girlfriend snuck onto my phone and found the following message. You and your girlfriend could totally dom me in RL. In the context of the conversation, it was, you and your girlfriend could totally dominate me in Rocket League. You just had to scroll a few messages up to know we were talking about a video game. He was talking about only playing casual and that he couldn't rank well. I had no idea she was routinely going through my messages. She had a total freak out that he might view me and her sexually, and the fallout lasted a week. But things between us didn't improve. I had agreed to take my friend to the airport and slept at his place with the knowledge that I'd have to stay up all night if I was going to get off work, go home and get ready, drive to his house, and then to the airport. His flight was at 5 a.m. and my work stopped at 11 p.m. He prepared my favorite food and drinks and went through a lot of effort to make sure I would get the maximum amount of sleep while he finished packing and getting ready for his trip. Unfortunately, I had a bad allergy attack that day and ended up staying up late with him. I came home in the morning after driving him to the airport. When I did, she offered me the ultimatum. It was him or her. When I asked her what her problem was with him, she claimed the friendship was moving too fast, wouldn't clarify no matter how many times I asked, and that she felt excluded. Given the long night I just had and the length of our relationship, I agreed. I blocked his contact and deleted it. I then went to take a shower. When I came out, I found my partner again on my phone. She confessed she didn't trust me to end things with him and was looking for evidence. For the rest of the day, I was super distraught. Not only did I have to give up this friendship, but my partner didn't seem to trust me anymore. I spent most of my day crying in my room. My partner got upset that I did that rather than shower her with affection. I pointed out I had been through a lot that day and probably wouldn't be able to do much coddling. I don't know what to do. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Friendship with the socially awkward 50-plus-year-old aside, it sounds like the relationship with the girlfriend has run its course, and it's time to call it quits for both of your happiness. On to the 50-plus-year-old. The fact that he has a girlfriend half his age is a huge red flag. The fact that you seem to know she exists, and there seems to be no mention of any interaction with her, is another red flag. Don't be so quick to dismiss your girlfriend's concerns where this dude is concerned. She could be seeing something you've dismissed or justified, and or sensing something subconsciously. My point is, she could be right in her assessment of him, but still wrong for you. Comment 2. What a fun read. It's rare you get a post where you go in expecting to bash the insecure younger one who refuses therapy and has no desire to change. But then you find out her older girlfriend is completely obtuse and has put herself in a situation that looks 100% like she's cheating on her already insecure partner. You both suck and you should separate. And if you don't think the old man you're hanging out with wants to bang you, then there's no help for you. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been 3 months since I shared my story, and a lot has happened since then. After the ultimatum, things with my girlfriend calmed down for a bit. I thought maybe we were finally getting back on track, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I missed my friend, sure, but it was more than that. My girlfriend's behavior started to change in ways I couldn't ignore. She began staying out late without telling me where she was going. When I asked, she'd snap at me, saying I was controlling. It was weird because she'd always been the one to want us to check in with each other. I respected her privacy, but this was a big shift from how we used to be. Then there were the phone calls. She'd step out of the room to take them, whispering and giggling in a way I hadn't heard in a long time. I tried not to be suspicious, but it was hard. I remembered how she'd accused me of looking dew-eyed at my phone, and it felt like maybe she was projecting her own guilt onto me. One night, she came home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, saying it was from a coworker who hugged her goodbye. But it was the same scent that lingered on my clothes after I'd hugged my friend goodbye. It was a unique blend he'd bragged about, something he'd had custom made. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was seeing someone else. It was eating me up inside, but I didn't have proof. And after everything with my friend, I didn't want to accuse her without being sure. Things came to a head when I got a text from my friend's partner. She said she needed to talk to me urgently. We met up at a coffee shop, and she was shaking. She told me she'd found messages on my friend's phone from my girlfriend. They were flirty, to say the least. My friend had been away on a business trip, and his partner had a hunch something was going on. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All this time, my girlfriend had been accusing me of being unfaithful, and she was the one cheating. With my friend, no less, it was a mess. I confronted my girlfriend when she got home that night. She tried to deny it at first, but when I told her I'd spoken to my friend's partner, she broke down. She admitted she'd been seeing him for a few months. She said she felt neglected and that he understood her in ways I didn't. I was furious, not just because she cheated, but because she'd manipulated me into cutting off a friendship over her own guilt. I told her it was over between us. She begged me to reconsider, saying she'd made a mistake, but I couldn't get past the betrayal. The next few weeks were rough. I moved out and crashed with a coworker while I looked for a new place. My ex kept trying to contact me, but I couldn't bring myself to talk to her. Then, out of the blue, my friend reached out. He'd broken up with his partner after she confronted him about my girlfriend. He was apologetic, saying he never meant for things to go so far, that it started as a stupid flirtation that spiraled out of control. I didn't know what to feel. I was still hurt, but I missed our friendship. We met up to talk, and it was like no time had passed. He was still the same guy who made me laugh and shared my love for weird hobbies. We've been hanging out again, just like old times. It's been a relief to have that support back in my life. But there's a part of me that's still on guard. I'm not sure I can fully trust him again, not after everything. And then last week, something happened that I still can't wrap my head around. My ex showed up at my new place, unannounced. She was crying, saying she was pregnant. She claimed it was mine, that the timing lined up with before we broke up. I was in shock. We'd always been careful, and she was on birth control. But she was insistent, showing me the positive test as proof. I told her we'd need to do a paternity test to be sure. She agreed, but as she was leaving, she dropped her purse, and a bunch of stuff spilled out. Among the items was a prescription bottle for prenatal vitamins. The label was dated 2 months ago, which meant she'd been taking them before we even broke up. I picked up the bottle, and she snatched it out of my hand, her eyes wide with panic. She left without another word, and I was left standing there, trying to piece together what this all meant. Fiancé posts fake stories about me on Reddit. and then I find a folder full of drafts. I don't have a Reddit account, but I know there is a subreddit for our city and wanted to ask a question about some restaurants and activities. My fiancée let me borrow her phone. She didn't realize that she was logged into a different account. She got an alert I thought was a response to my question, so I clicked through. The post she wrote, "The fake me is a gamer who never pays attention to her, never does any chores, barely employed, doesn't contribute to the household bills, in their mid-30s. Fake her was even younger than she actually is, divorced. Basically, if I wasn't with her, fake me would be living in my mom's basement. She made me look even worse in the comments, then ended up breaking up with fake me in the post." I asked her if she feels this way about our relationship, because it seems weird for her to post all this stuff and get validation and interact with people in the comments, if she wasn't at least somewhat unhappy. She said it wasn't a reflection of how she feels about me, but just a fun little thing she did, that I shouldn't read anything into it, and she definitely loves me and is glad I'm not the guy she wrote about. I only have a Switch, hardly a hardcore gamer setup, and I really got into Tak over the last few months. It's the only game I've played in over a year. She said seeing me so invested in a game gave her inspiration to write her story. She said it was fun getting people to respond and comment and pretend she's that person. It isn't the first time she's created a post and has been doing it for a couple of years. She has deleted most of the posts and accounts, so she can't show me what else she's posted. She already deleted the post and account she used for the referenced post. She said sometimes I'm terrible, sometimes I'm not, sometimes she's the BF, sometimes she's single, sometimes it has nothing to do with a romantic relationship. She said it's not about us, and if she was unhappy she'd just tell me. I know compared to a lot of what gets posted here, this isn't a big deal, but it does make me feel bad that she's writing posts where she basically hates me and I'm a terrible partner in person. I hope she's genuine and that it's just for fun. P.S. My fiancé knows I'm posting this and let me block her main account and promised she wouldn't look for it on a burner account. Edit. The one post I saw wasn't written to be over the top or sound fake. Nobody in the comments I read thought it was fake. She also said she doesn't create posts with domestic violence or intimacy, attack, or other serious topics. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. To be honest, I treat all of these posts as works of fiction. At best, you're getting one person's highly subjective impression of things. At worst, you're getting some half-baked social experiment. I would categorize your girlfriend's post as a half-baked social experiment and not be overly concerned about it. However, you might want to use this account to monitor her accounts since she seems to have a very odd way of communicating with you. Comment 2. A lot of Redditors post fictional stories. I don't know why, but it seems fun for them. From what you describe, she changed everything about you and your relationship, so I think viewing this as a fake you is a mistake. She didn't write about you. She wrote a piece of fiction to have fun with. Reddit allows us to be completely anonymous, and it can be fun to be someone you are not. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 3 days since my last post, and boy do I have some updates for you. Remember how I found out my fiancé was posting fake stories about me on Reddit? Well, things have escalated, and not in the way I expected. First off, I've been doing some thinking about our relationship history. We've been together for 5 years, and it's been mostly good. We met at a mutual friend's party, hit it off talking about our favorite TV shows, and things just clicked. She's always been the more outgoing one, while I'm a bit more reserved. I thought we balanced each other out, but after my last post, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. So I decided to do a little digging. I remembered she mentioned that she's been creating these posts for a couple of years, so I started by going through her browser history on her laptop. I know, not the most ethical move, but I had to know if she was telling the truth about it not being about us. I found a trail of deleted posts and accounts, just like she said, but what really caught my eye was a folder hidden deep in her documents. It was filled with drafts of Reddit posts and comments. Some were about me, some about fictional relationships, and others were just random rants. It was like discovering a secret side of her. Then, 2 days ago, something happened that I didn't see coming. I got home from work, and she was already there, which was unusual because she's usually at her yoga class at that time. She was sitting at the kitchen table, looking nervous. I asked her what was wrong, and she just blurted out that she had been laid off from her job. I was shocked. She hadn't mentioned any problems at work before. We talked about it, and she admitted that she had been unhappy at her job for a while, and that the posts were a way for her to vent. She said she felt stuck in her career and didn't know how to tell me. I felt bad for her, but also a little betrayed that she hadn't been honest with me. Yesterday, we had a long conversation about trust and communication. I told her how finding those posts made me feel, and she apologized. She promised to stop posting and to be more open with me. I thought we were making progress. But here's the twist. Today, I got a message from a Reddit user who had seen my last post. They told me they recognized the writing style of one of my fiance's posts. It turns out she had written a detailed story about a woman who discovers her fiancé is cheating on her with her best friend. The user said the story was posted around the same time my fiancé started acting distant a few months ago. I confronted her about it, and after some hesitation, she confessed that the story was based on her own suspicions about me and her best friend. She had seen us talking and laughing together at a party and let her imagination run wild. She never brought it up with me because she realized it was all in her head. But she still wrote the post and interacted with commenters who fueled her paranoia. I was stunned. I've never cheated on her, and her best friend is like a sister to me. The fact that she would even think that, let alone post about it, was a huge blow. Fiancé's sister is a drug addict, and she shows up to our home, but I refuse to let her in. Now she's in hospital. My fiancé feels responsible. I, 26-year-old male, am desperate for a solution to this problem. I don't think what I did was wrong, but I'm willing to hear advice because our family is so divided about this. My fiancé, 24-year-old female, is from a broken family. I will admit that I don't have much experience in her situation, but I'd like to think I'm empathetic. Basically, her dad was always absent. Her mother was addicted to drugs. She was raised by an older cousin and was in foster care as an older teenager until she aged out. She doesn't talk about it a lot, but despite that, she is the kindest woman I've ever met and extremely caring, smart, and dedicated. She's successful in her job as an NP, nurse practitioner, and obviously the love of my life. We got engaged about 6 months ago, and our wedding date is set. I can't wait to make her my wife. Well, my fiancé has 2 siblings, an older brother and a younger sister. Her brother Josh is also a successful person, and I consider him a good friend of mine. Josh and my own brother and I hang out often. My fiancé's sister, 21-year-old female, however, is basically a splitting image of their mother. She is a drug addict and an alcoholic, and hurtful and manipulative person, and just generally not someone you want to be around. Well, my fiancée Charlotte doesn't see her sister that way. Charlotte has given her sister 1,000,001 chances to prove herself, and yet her sister fails every single time. Her sister, we can call her Sarah, has stolen money, jewelry, and anything else she can get her hands on from Charlotte several times. Sarah can be so sweet and nice and promises rehab until Char will let her back in, and then snaps and steals for drugs. She has shown up on Char's doorstep completely strung out on pills and threatened her with a knife once. Sarah has done jail time and rehab about 3 times over, but Charlotte just will not stop giving her chances. She is easily manipulated by Sarah's crocodile tears and sacrifices so much for her sister who wouldn't do the same. I just can't stand it, seeing my fiancé so hurt by a girl who needs so much more help than she can ever give her. She finally crossed the line for me right before we got engaged, when Sarah showed up to Char's apartment and physically attacked her. She broke my fiancé's nose. We had to have the photographer edit out the bruising in our engagement photos. From then on, I was clear to Char that I did not support her constant second chances towards Sarah. Josh, her brother, had never entertained Sarah, and in strongly worded ways told Char not to either. Charlotte's excuse was always, "She's my sister, you can't understand," which might be true, but still. So now that Charlotte has moved into my house, I haven't heard much about Sarah. I thought Charlotte might have finally given up trying to fix her sister, and I couldn't have been happier. Until last week. As I mentioned, Charlotte is a nurse practitioner, so she works long hours a couple days a week. One night I was home alone and someone rang our doorbell. What do you know? It's my least favorite person. Sarah was standing there, track marks all up and down her arms, begging me to let her in to apologize and make it up with Charlotte. Prior to this, Sarah had made her apology to Char about breaking her nose, and Char accepted. Further proof that Sarah is just so far gone when she's on drugs. I told Sarah no, that I wasn't going to do that, and she needed to leave. Sarah refused, started yelling, saying she was going to be homeless. I told her I didn't care. After a few more minutes of switching between crocodile tears and threats, Sarah finally left. That night I didn't tell Char what happened, as when she got home she was really tired and wanted to shower, eat, and sleep. The next morning, however, I did, and Charlotte was pissed. She yelled at me for making decisions for her and told me I had no place in doing what I did. I disagree heavily, but when Char started to cry, I felt so horrible. I apologized, but honestly, I don't feel that I needed to. Josh agrees with me, but some other family and friends are siding with Char. I have no idea how to fix this. I do not want my fiancée helping her sister any longer, but I don't see how I can persuade her that her sister is the horrible person that she is. How do I prove to my fiancée that she's better off without her sister? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your fiancée, soon-to-be wife, is going to let this violent addict into your house. I hope you also realize that she'll probably have the legal right to invite her to stay, possibly now as a resident, almost definitely as your wife. Also, note down the names of the family members and maybe friends on Char's side, and make sure you refer to Sarah directly to them when she shows up next time. Comment 2. Other people have given you a lot of great input already, but I just wanted to add this. You are not making decisions for her when it is a shared house. Char is no longer in a position to take risks that affect only herself. She can't decide to bring that kind of trouble into your home without your consent. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a week since I updated you all on the situation with my fiancée Charlotte and her sister Sarah, and boy, do I have some news. So, after the whole ordeal with Sarah showing up at our doorstep, things between Charlotte and me were tense. She was still upset that I turned her sister away, and I was firm in my belief that it was the right thing to do. But then, 2 days later, Charlotte came home from work with a look on her face that I couldn't quite place. She sat me down and told me that Sarah had been admitted to the hospital where she works. Apparently, she had overdosed and was found unconscious in an alley by a good Samaritan. Charlotte's voice broke as she explained how she felt responsible, how she thought that if she had just been there for Sarah one more time, this might not have happened. I could see the pain in her eyes, the same kind of pain I saw when she talked about her childhood, about the time she had to fend for herself when her mother was too high to care. It was a history that haunted her, a past that made her believe in second chances, maybe even third or fourth ones. I held Charlotte as she cried, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. Maybe I had been too harsh. Maybe I should have let Sarah in that night. But then I remembered the threats, the yelling, the way Sarah had manipulated Charlotte time and time again. It was a mess of emotions, and I was stuck in the middle. The next day, Charlotte went to see Sarah in the hospital. She came back looking exhausted but determined. She told me that Sarah had woken up and was asking for help, real help this time. She wanted to go to rehab, to get clean, to make things right with her family. Charlotte wanted to believe her, and part of me wanted to as well, for Charlotte's sake. But then, just as we were starting to hope, we got a call from Josh. He had been doing some digging and found out that Sarah had been involved in a hit and run a few nights before her overdose. The victim was in critical condition, and the police were looking for Sarah. Charlotte was devastated. She had been ready to support her sister through rehab, but this was something else entirely. We spent the next few days in a haze of worry and confusion. Charlotte was torn between her duty as a sister and her conscience as a nurse and a human being. She knew that if Sarah was responsible for the hit and run, she needed to face the consequences, but the thought of her sister going to prison was too much for her to bear. Then, the unexpected happened. Sarah, still weak from her overdose, confessed to the hit and run. She said she was high at the time and didn't even realize what she had done until she saw it on the news from her hospital bed. Charlotte and I were at the hospital when she confessed to the police. It was a jaw-dropping moment, watching Sarah take responsibility for her actions, something we never thought we'd see. The police took Sarah into custody, and Charlotte was left with a bittersweet sense of relief. Her sister was finally getting the help she needed, but at such a high cost. Charlotte visited Sarah before she was transferred to the detention center, and they had a long, emotional talk. Sarah apologized for everything, and Charlotte forgave her, but it was clear that their relationship would never be the same. As for me, I've been doing my best to support Charlotte through all of this. It's been a journey of emotions, and our wedding plans have taken a back seat to the family drama. But through it all, I've seen a new side of Charlotte, a strength and resilience that only makes me love her more. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.